MarazA. What's up, dude?
I'm alright. How you doing?
Hey,
HipHop Galaxy.
We're all good at the HipHop Galaxy, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, for the people, who are looking at this, scratching them, their heads,
And thinking, how can they get the Guan merchandise?
yeah, and asking, who is in front of us right now?
Yeah. In front of you is a very passionate entertainer. And if I've been doing a lot of interviews and they've been asking me to sum myself up in one word, which is the dumbest thing. I can't sum myself up. If one word, MarazA. Done. But if you allow me more words, I'll say I'm a storyteller.
Okay.
I'm a storyteller, be it through, the notes on a keyboard, the notes in the musical scale, be it through the notes when I sing, be it through the writtens that I sing, be it through TV presenting, video directing, music producing. I am a storyteller, and each and every single time I try and tell a story as best I can through all of the mediums I use.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just so obviously we like to get behind the storyteller, get into the storyteller's mind.
Yeah.
And figure out who they are, so then we can kind of understand the source of where these stories come from. So what is your government name?
Spamandla Wagamhlongo.
Okay.
Now Waga is not part of it.
Yeah.
So Spamandla Mhlongo.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And we just want to find out, like, when did you get started in hip hop, man? When did you fall in love with the genre, man? Were you one of those people in high school, you were spitting, you were in ciphers, or were you just undercover with it? What's the story with you? When did you kind of get into hip hop?
I come from an almost backward part of South Africa. There was never a single cipher in my high school.
Oh.
Never.
Okay.
There was never one cipher. There was never even one rapper.
Yeah.
And I was the only poet, even,
Yeah.
in my neighborhood, no one listened to hip hop. And I remember now, this is around the time 50 Cent came out.
Yeah.
And 50 Cent was playing heavily on South African radio, and 50 Cent was popular in South Africa. But it was because of his commercial appeal, not, most of the people that even listened to 50 Cent now and then in my neighborhood didn't know 50 Cent had been shot, didn't know 50 Cent was with Dr. Dre, they didn't know who Dr. Dre was. So they just really, it was never about hip hop. Not at any point was I in a school or in my village did we ever like hip hop. I was the only guy, which always baffles me, but I fell in love with hip hop through, I don't know. I really don't know how, obviously after, maybe a year or two later, I started meeting people who feel the same way. I started getting Hype magazine, and I started getting tapes of the Penny and Zach show. But my reason for falling in love with hip hop in the first place had nothing to do with anyone else except me and the music. So there was a connection between myself and the music, and I would hear an Eminem song on the radio, and it would touch me in deeper ways than it was touching everybody else. Everyone else just liked a song. I loved the ability to put so much of your own life story and your emotions in a song, because I often didn't have anyone to talk to. I mean, I lived with my cousins and my aunt and my grandfather, who's like the coolest playboy ever. But we, even though they were always there to support anything except this, we couldn't relate. So there were things that I'd need to talk to people about, but I didn't have anyone to talk to, not because no one was willing to listen, but no one would be able to understand. And then when I met hip hop, I realized that I don't need to talk to the people that are right here. Okay. I can put this down on pen and paper, hopefully one day put it on a record and send it somewhere, and I can talk to someone else on the other side of the globe. Because right now, a young white boy called Marshall Mathers is talking to me, and he's from Detroit.
Yeah.
And that's what captured me. Then I fell in love, and then I started trying to see what hip hop was all about. I started trying to meet people who were also into hip hop music. And then I got into the whole, beats, beatboxing, metaphors and punchlines. So it's not just an Eminem thing, it's a hip hop thing. Then you start getting beats, and you start recording, you start getting into ciphers and getting into battles. And I started falling in love with the culture more and more and more, and I became one of the best battle MCs in Africa, don't at me. And it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew But as we sit right now in this interview, I am back to the original reason why I fell in love with hip hop. When no one else was there, when it was just me and the music, it was my ability to tell, or not my ability, my avenue or a release, allowing me to tell my story and have the world listen without necessarily having to speak to someone face to face.
Yeah, man. Okay, cool. That's an interesting story. So we've had a lot of rappers come through here, man,
and they're all whack. I'm
Wow.
joking. I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Like most of your verses. Sorry.
Yeah, man. Yo, you wild, bro.
Yeah.
So one thing that runs through when they tell their stories is they always like cite a lack of support. They always cite, their parents or their family members kind of saying, yo, what is it with you in this hip hop thing? So I know you touched on that a little bit, but I mean, coming from like you say, a village.
Yeah.
How was that? How was it that now you are deciding to go this avenue? How was the kind of reception when you told people?
Well, my dad was already dead, so he couldn't say anything.
Okay.
But I don't know who's lucky, me or them, that their parents or whoever their guardians were would be like, what's with you in this hip hop? No one ever asked me that. No one ever cared. No one knew what I was doing. They thought I was smoking weed. That was it. I cleared it up. I don't smoke weed. They're like, okay, sharp. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, the only people who knew I rapped in my village, Gwanyatikazi, at some point were probably just like, Taban, John, Mapopo, a guy I rapped with, Umtelisi, a guy who used to do the wackest beatbox you've ever heard, but it sounded amazing. It was actually a quite a beatbox based on just bass lines. And that's not a beatbox, but we used to rap to that. So outside of that circle of weed smoking guys who used to hang out by themselves in an abandoned house, and I started visiting them.
Wow.
And they used to hang out in this other house, which is actually what a trap house is.
Yeah,
which,
like
the
bendo for
the
real.
bendo, the real bendo, an abandoned house.
Yeah.
Okay, so we used to hang out in the bendo, and they would smoke weed, and obviously, apparently, I almost believed that you needed weed to rap.
Yeah.
But I could never handle weed. I puffed 2 times on a joint, and I almost drowned in the shower. Like, shit was dumb, and I left it. So Umapopo used to rap.
Yeah.
He wasn't as good as I thought he was. He was the only person I'd ever heard. So he was amazing. Only person I'd ever heard locally. So in my village, no one knew what I was doing. They thought I was just like trying to be a nigga.
Yeah.
And
I get what you mean.
Yeah, and it was still just a few people. So no one ever said, don't rap.
Yeah.
No one ever said, don't go to these recording sessions,
Yeah.
I think what worked in my favor, which is the sad truth, is that, growing up, Ngasekaya, we had a family that really grew up on like scholarships. So my dad got a scholarship to go and intern, so a trainee as he works at the sugar mill called the Hewlett Sugar Mill in Darnell.
Yeah.
And that sugar mill is what created my entire village. So people came to that area because of that sugar mill.
Yeah.
And then he went and he worked in the sugar mill in Pangeni, Felixstein, and he passed on. And then Ubaba Mncane wami, my small father, which in English culture translates as uncle.
Yeah.
My uncle also had a scholarship there, and he was doing very well. He was very smart, and then he also passed before he started working. My grandfather also had a scholarship. Back in the days, he couldn't even write, but he was a very gifted engineer. And everyone thought I'd go into that lane as well, And we were going through like such severe poverty in Kaya because our one breadwinner, which was my uncle Umbuzelo Amhlongo, had passed on, and everything was riding on him. Yeah. All our hopes were riding on him. Now he's dead. Apart from my grandfather, I'm the oldest, remaining male figure, and I'm in grade 11. I'm very smart. I'm passing physics. I'm passing mathematics. I am now the hope and dream of the family. This guy is actually going to go, Ayosebenza Mshinini is going to get the same scholarship and will be fine again. But they didn't have money to send me anywhere else. So if I was to say, yo, I want to rap, they couldn't say, no, don't rap, go to UJ, we've paid school fees for you. They couldn't. So I went and I did exactly what I wanted to do. Like ever since grade 11, I was doing only what I wanted to do. I was in charge of my own destiny and my own future. And it's not because my parents, my mother and my aunts, it's not because they didn't care. It's not because they didn't want to stop me. It's not because they didn't think hip hop was bad. I don't know what they thought because they were not in the financial position to dictate. So it's almost like it's one of those things where, they just prayed for you and hoped you do well. Even though they secretly hope you do something else, but you can't really force someone to go to university if you're not paying school fees for them. So I never had that. I've just always chased this dream, but they never understood what happened. They never understood what I was doing at Goli. And then I'm popping kids left, right, and center, baba. Because I had my first son in my only son in 2009, and I had the only one I know of. Yes. I had my son in 2009 and my daughter in 2011. And for a while, things were not going very well, and I wasn't really able to support Ekaya. But no one ever said, yo, stop what you're doing. But yes, it's true. They never understood.
Oh.